Hey, what's up, guys? This is Cody the Coin Raptor coming at you with another Bitcoin focused video. But for this video, I don't want to just talk about Bitcoin. I'm also going to talk a little bit about Ethereum because I think it's actually really important to what's going on with crypto right now. But we're going to start, as usual, with the Bitcoin chart TA. So Bitcoin has actually been in a very nice uptrend. I put in here this wonderful upwards channel that we've seen here. And ever since about the start of the month, about the second or so of May, we've seen Bitcoin push higher and higher and higher, taking the next leg up and the next leg up. It almost looks like a solid kind of staircase up to the next couple of levels here. So if this trend holds, then what we should see is Bitcoin attempting to break out at about almost $72,000. And the reason why this level right here is so incredibly important, I will make apparent a little bit later in this video. But let's call it 72K around in this region. If Bitcoin can actually overcome this resistance right here, that would mean the next step was probably going to be a new all-time high, basically. So here's where we are with Bitcoin right now. As long as this support level holds in the upper channel, then we should see an attempt at that 72K resistance. And if we do get above 72K, then we're going to end up seeing some fireworks. So if we take a look at the Bitcoin liquidation heat maps, you guys can see exactly what I'm talking about here. So the liquidation heat maps going out to a week will show you a massive level of liquidity, of short liquidity, sitting right at 72K. Now this is $925 million worth of short liquidity just sitting right here, waiting to be squeezed if Bitcoin actually goes above 72K. And this explosive amount of short liquidity could potentially push us above all-time highs. We could even be looking at potentially $75,000 if it just crosses this level and those shorts are forced to liquidate. So this is an absolutely massive level for Bitcoin. If it can overcome this level, then we could definitely see some fireworks. Now, I also want to talk about the realized price and where Bitcoin is right now in its cycle. I have here the realized price chart that I've talked about a couple of times from charts.bitbo.io. And what it's showing here is color-coded all of the number of days until the next halving. So what we have here is this red region right now that we're currently in. This is basically right after the halving happens. It goes from like blue to red, and this signifies that this is the start of the next post-halving rally. Now, you guys will see in the past when it's had this kind of similar action, we've seen a nice move up in the actual Bitcoin price itself. It happened back in 2020, it happened back in 2016, and it happened back in 2012 as well. And every single time we saw a huge move up in the Bitcoin price, though every single time it's gotten a little bit less aggressively high. And normally it takes a couple of months after the halving for a Bitcoin price to actually wind up going up. But if this cycle is anything like the other cycles, then it won't be that long until we wind up seeing that huge Bitcoin price increase. And right now, we have the realized price set at a very low $31,000. And again, the realized price is basically the market cost basis. You can think of it like a market cost basis. So Bitcoin is at the start of what is normally a very strong super cycle. Now, we also want to go ahead and talk about the Bitcoin spot ETFs. So spot ETFs have been incredibly popular. On the 24th of May, we saw an increase of $251 million of net inflows to Bitcoin spot ETFs. And at the top there, we can see the IBIT at the number one spot. And this was a fairly strong day for IBIT, raking in $182 million worth of inflows. And that has pushed the Bitcoin price much higher and higher and higher as people get more and more bullish about Bitcoin's prospects. In fact, if we go ahead and take a look at the totality of all the net inflows, and we look at a period of time, like say for instance the last 10 days, we can see that we've seen nothing but daily net inflows over the past couple of trading days, and it has been a fairly strong price action here for Bitcoin, going from a total net assets of 52 billion to where we are right now of almost 60 billion or so. So we've seen an increase of almost $10 billion within the last, call it 10 days. And all this has been inflows into Bitcoin spot ETFs, which also pushes the Bitcoin price much higher. And so this has just been a very strong cycle for Bitcoin right now, especially over the past about 10 days. Now, I want to go ahead and briefly talk about Ethereum because Ethereum had a spot ETF that was approved. And this is big news, not only just for Ethereum, but also for Bitcoin and crypto broadly speaking, because now you find yourself in a situation where the SEC has to approve many of these spot crypto ETFs because they approved Bitcoins, and then they went on and they also approved Ethereum's as well. Now, it really, I'm not entirely sure about what the next new ETF that's going to be approved by the SEC is going to be. It could be a Solana, it could be a Cardano, it could be any number of things. But simply put, this just goes to show you that the growing adoption of crypto is basically, it's unable to be ignored. The simple fact is adoption is happening, and it's not just at Bitcoin, it's also happening with Ethereum, and it's also happening with other crypto as well. And this is something that we should all be thankful for, because now we have opportunities to allow people who want to get involved in crypto but don't want to self-custody their own assets. Now they have options to get involved, exposure to crypto. Now the SEC basically had no choice to approve this spot ETF. And the reason for that is because the fact that if they didn't approve it, most likely they would get sued, and then that same reasoning that led to Bitcoin spot ETF approval would go back and also apply here as well, because there is an Ethereum futures ETF that's already offered by the SEC, that's already been approved by the SEC. And as a result, they would basically say, well, what's the difference between futures and actual spot? And the SEC would be forced to basically comply and approve the spot ETF anyways. And Grayscale would most likely bring that lawsuit against the SEC. So this is excellent. This is bullish. It's bullish for crypto in general, not just for Ethereum. Now, the next thing I want to talk about is the Bitcoin options expiry. So Bitcoin options expiry happens just about every single month. We see it on basically the last Friday of every single month. And now this month is no different. The 31st of May, we have almost $3 billion worth of Bitcoin call options set to expire, and about $1.6 billion worth of put options set to expire. So over $4 billion of options set to expire at the end of the month, or rather by Friday. Now, we have a max pain price, so that includes having your call options and your put options taken together. This is max pain price here is $65,000, so that it is likely, according to max pain theory, that we will see Bitcoin go towards, or at least try to be attracted to that level, 65K. But the bulls on the other side have been shooting for 70K basically by the end of the week. So bulls right now are betting on 70K, and 70K is not that far away considering we're sitting at about 68,000. Now, the other thing I was talking about was if we get a push above 72, then potentially speaking, we could go all the way up to 75, 76,000 maybe. And there's also a very large number of call options set to expire at a strike price of $80,000 by Friday. So there is something important coming out on Friday or later on this week that could potentially impact the Bitcoin price. That could actually be a bullish catalyst, and I'm going to talk about that in a little bit. But simply put, there's a lot of volatility penciled in for the week, so make sure you guys are aware of that. Now, the next thing I want to talk about is Bitcoin whales. So Bitcoin whales, we looked at the balances for whale addresses. This is something I've been keeping track of in the last last active within 24 hours. And we've seen whales add to their positions consistently throughout the last 10 days, starting on May 17th. And going all the way to where we are right now, where they last have data here on the 24th of May, we've actually seen a large increase in the number of Bitcoin in these Bitcoin whale accounts. So simply put, whales are taking advantage of any sort of dip. They're buying every single dip in sight with Bitcoin. Many of these whales probably anticipating that we're going to actually see a large post-halving rally, and so they're trying to get a jump on that. And in fact, our favorite whale, Bitcoin whale number 12, has also been adding as well. They added about 104 Bitcoin on the 19th of May, and they continue to push higher and higher and higher. At this rate, we're going to actually see Bitcoin whale number 12 potentially break into the top 10 of largest Bitcoin addresses. All right, so if we go ahead and take a look at our Bitcoin exchange reserve, one thing that you might be surprised at if you take a look at the exchange reserve and the amount of Bitcoin on exchanges is the fact that it's actually been going up. So over the last about week or so, it kind of bottomed and then it started going much higher. So it bottomed at about 1,914,000, and now it's at about 1,931,000. But I think that this isn't really, it's not indicative of a trend or anything. If you take a look at the long-term trend, it's still greatly downward. Right now, you're probably starting to see a little bit of profit taking in some areas, and this is just honestly pretty normal price action. If we look at the SOPR, or the spent output profit ratio, gives us an idea of the profitability of sellers right now. Sellers are strongly in profit. They're above that one line, that one dotted line that tells us whether or not it's break even or not. So sellers have been selling, and they've been selling profitably. And it's not a huge surprise considering the fact that people have been able to buy Bitcoin below or about 61K or so, even below that, and going down to 58K not too long ago. And most recently, as the 13th of May, being able to buy near 60K and then sell it up here at about 68. So it's not a huge surprise that they've been in profit recently. Now, the last thing I want to talk about is what's going on this week. So Tuesday, you have some Fed president speaking, and there's a consumer confidence reading as well. Wednesday, Beige Book and another Fed president speaking on New York and Atlanta Fed president speaking. Thursday, jobless claims, and then GDP revision. Okay, those are important, but not as important as what's going on Friday. Friday, PCE index, okay, personal consumption expenditures index. This is the Fed's preferred inflation gauge. This right here could potentially be the catalyst to a Bitcoin rally by the end of the week if this comes in lower than expected. All right, so the expectation for PCE, the median forecast here is going to be year over year at 2.7%. So if we can come in below 2.7%, I do believe this will lead to a strong Bitcoin rally because then investors and traders are going to be betting that the Fed will cut sooner than later and will not have to raise interest rates anymore. All right. So that's all I've got for you guys today. Let me know what you guys think about the options expiry, if this is actually something you like to see. Leave a comment below if you think that we have a chance of actually going above 72K by the end of the week. Leave a comment below. I'm interested in hearing about your thoughts. And be sure to follow me on X and Threads, and also subscribe, like. I greatly appreciate that. It'd be nice to get to at least 300 or 400 subs within a couple of months. That's kind of my goal right now. And I really appreciate the support that you guys have been giving me. Have a fantastic day.